Rising in three major cities today. Operation Ubuntu is leading marches in Johannesburg, Cape Town and Durban, with organizations calling for an end to violence on migrants and stronger protection for vulnerable communities across the continent.
Guys, South Africa is having another very heated conversation about foreigners, immigration and xenophobia. But this time, something happened that really caught my attention. Operation Ubuntu has taken to the streets and they are calling for the arrest of the leaders of March and March. Yes, you heard that right. And honestly, when I saw that, I had to look deeper because this is no longer just a disagreement happening online. These two sides are now taking their battle to the streets. So let's talk about what is actually happening here. Operation Ubuntu has been protesting against what they describe as xenophobia and the treatment of foreign nationals in South Africa. And during their protests, they raised serious demands, including a call for authorities to take action against leadership of March and March. Now, if you've been following this story, you already know that March and March has been pushing for stricter immigration enforcement. The argument is basically South Africans are struggling with unemployment, crime, and that the government needs to put South Africans first and enforce immigration laws properly. And to be fair, those are concerns that a lot of South Africans genuinely have. But here's where Operation Ubuntu says, hold on. Now, Operation Ubuntu argument is that there is a difference between demanding immigration enforcement and creating an environment where foreigners as a group feel targeted. And this is where things get very heated because now Operation Ubuntu is saying in essence, enough is enough. And they are calling for the arrest of March and March leaders.
We are marching in collective solidarity for Ubuntu and for humanity today. The first stop is at Cape Town Police Station, where we will be handing over our demands to the station commander.
We are here to stop the violence in our community. Let me read our demand. The 80 organizations of Operation Ubuntu and members of the public demand to the South African police, number one, end the xenophobic and vigilante violence and protect the vulnerable migrant communities. Non-negotiable. Arrest and charge individuals engaging in incitement to violence and hate against foreign nationals, including those responsible for the eThekwini social media incident, which made the viral threats of petrol and burners. Arrest the drug lords and take steps to end the mass shootings in our communities.
Welcome to all of you across Africa and across the world. This is Thuso Khumalo coming to you live from Johannesburg. I'm coming to you from a march by a group that's calling itself, that it called its campaign Operation Ubuntu, meaning Operation Respect of Human Rights and Humanity. This group is fighting and marching against xenophobia and Afrophobia, as they put it. They are saying in the past month, 1 or 2 months, what we have seen in South Africa, according to this group that's behind me here, that's acts of xenophobia, where we have seen migrants being targeted, some of them being, of course, violently removed from their residences, some of them at times, of course, being beaten up. They are saying those are acts of xenophobia and they want that to end. We know that those behind those marches have said they are only targeting undocumented migrants and they are doing it peacefully. But this group here is saying that has never been peaceful because some people have been beaten, families have been displaced, and migrants have been forcibly deported. So this is their cry here.
We call on the Gauteng provincial government to demonstrate leadership by rejecting xenophobia in all its forms, protecting vulnerable communities and strengthening social cohesion. Condemn xenophobia now. The Gauteng provincial government must publicly and unequivocally condemn all forms of xenophobia, Afrophobia, hate speech, intimidation and violence.
A march calling for an end to xenophobia and what organizers describe as attacks against vulnerable communities. Operation Ubuntu brought together civil society organizations, traditional leaders and community activists while protesters walked to the office of the Gauteng Premier to hand over a memorandum.
Firstly, we are touched by the newly proposed amendment to the PI Act. That's one thing that we are also raising today, and the ongoing xenophobic attacks across these three major cities, which is Western Cape, KZN and Gauteng province. That's where we are targeting to have this pushback against this vigilantism and attacks against the vulnerable groups.
The organizers say their concerns go beyond migration. extending to the treatment of foreign nationals and proposed changes to legislation they believe could further marginalize vulnerable groups. Chief Durante, a traditional leader, joined the call for an end to xenophobia across Africa.
What sparked this is the common issues that we have in our communities. The common issues in our communities, we are saying that we are against the amendment of the Bible. Then we are also saying no to xenophobia. We cannot treat other human beings with brutality. We cannot oppress other human beings in where we know in the future our people, our brothers and sisters will go to foreign countries and they will not like the treatment.
The marchers say solidarity is central to their campaign, arguing that communities must come together around access to basic services, jobs and safety.
We came together on the basis to our opposition to xenophobia, that united we are strong, and it's only in our unity can we win the demands that we need to see delivered. The defence of our clinics, the defence of our schools, the defence of our jobs, the safety in our communities. And in that way, if we can build strong enough struggles around these issues, then we can combat the xenophobic attacks that are happening against our working class African sisters and brothers.
Now guys, I want us to really think about this for a second. We're talking about two groups with completely different views of what the real problem is. One side is saying our country needs stronger immigration control, and the other side is saying you cannot use immigration concerns as an excuse to target African migrants. And now one side is actually calling for the arrest of the people leading the other movements.
It's another organization known as Operation Ubuntu. This organization is calling for the arrest. They are calling for the arrest of the March and March leader, Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, Pakela Utumatati, and other people that are involved, even Victoria Africa, what did she call her name, and others. This group is now calling for the arrest of this March and March leader for causing unrest and anarchy in South Africa, also misleading people, inciting violence and destruction of foreigners' property in South Africa. That is what this group is now asking for. And as you can see that the crowd has rallied around this Operation Ubuntu to sanitize South Africa of this Afrophobia and xenophobia that is going on in the country. Guys, this is a welcome development. This is what we have been fighting for. This is what we have been shouting every day and night. We need to be one. Africans need to come together and fight this common enemy, which is known as Afrophobia and xenophobia. Africa knows no boundary. Yes, thank you so much. We support this development. All these leaders of March and March should be arrested. They should be arrested. All these leaders of this March and March should be arrested immediately. The government should do something about it. We are waiting for their updates. This is very, very good.
Operation Ubuntu is a collective of 60 civic societies who've come together just calling for essentially change in government action and policing action when it comes to migration. We know that there have been a lot of tension after and prior to June 30th, where we've seen a lot of looting, a lot of violence towards migrants, whether they be legal or undocumented. And Operation Ubuntu is just saying everyone is legal, everyone deserves the right to human rights and basic needs and necessities.
We know with those marches leading up to June 30th, on that actual day, there were actually few incidents of violence given the number of marches that were held across the country. However, we know that there have been those isolated incidences, and I think that's where you speak of, you know, when you talk about the looting and some of the violence. But in the main, they are now, in terms of this latest march, they're now taking that fight squarely to government steps. Are they acknowledging any of, you know, some of the grievances that we heard during the March and March protest and other marches, who say that there are significant crime levels, and they, you know, put the blame squarely on those, you know, illegal immigrants? They also lay blame on government as it relates to some socio-economic, you know, problems to the country, jobs being one of them. What are these, you know, protesters in the main saying in around, in as far as those concerns are you know, have been raised?
Well, the socio-economic concerns, I will say there is agreement between March for March and the Operation Ubuntu. They both blame government. They both think that more needs to be done and more tangible work needs to be done to change the socio-economic state of South Africans and immigrants or migrants alike. However, when it comes to migration, they do believe that there is no such thing as illegal people. They only feel like there are people who have tried to become legal citizens of South Africa, but because of the backlog in home affairs, that is just not possible. And they're pushing for government once again to just essentially do their job.
Once one political and activist movement starts demanding the arrest of the leaders of opposing movements, things can get very serious. And I want to know what you guys think. Do we think Operation Ubuntu is right to demand the arrest of March and March leaders, or do you think the government should simply enforce the law if any actual offense has been committed? And here's another question. Can South Africa fight illegal immigration without becoming hostile towards foreigners? Because to me, that is the real conversation. Not foreigners are the problem, not anyone who talks about immigration is xenophobic. Guys, I want to hear your honest opinion. What do we think about Operation Ubuntu calling for the arrest of the March and March leadership? And where do we stand on this whole immigration debate? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one.